Hello, everyone, and welcome to Good Guy Sports. I am Jackson Gerke, alongside with our co-host Roby and Blake Gerke, and Blake Weinberger will be joining us momentarily. But we are going to be starting off with the with some FIFA World Cup reactions, and we do have to talk about the men's United States national team because they lost in heartbreaking fashion to this Türkiye team in um, in the final minutes late in stoppage time in the second half, and that is certainly and that is certainly a tough way to lose. Other than Christian Porzingis played more minutes in the second half than he did in the first half, and a lot of that to me had to do with that they were tested and they had efficiency and that you can see that that from what they did in this last gap in this goal where they had so basically they had to win this one or at least draw. Otherwise, they gave up a goal late, right when the game ended, and that was just a tough way to lose if you're a United States United fans of our country of the United States of America fan for the men's side because let's be real here. That I'm telling you right now that that since 2030 and 2010 that the men's national team now they did men's national team U.S. men's national team now they did win their group, but out of the previous appearances in the World Cup, they did not win a single knockout round ever. They were so they were trying to they were trying to at least hope for at least they were doing everything they can. They tried to believe and and they did everything they could. It was just that Turkey just they were just the U.S. national team just faced a lot more pressure than their last previous matches in this tournament, and that Turkey just put the pressure on the United States, and they just kept and they just kept plays alive, and that they really were the difference maker, and and that Austin Trubby and Sebastian and those guys and on the Europeans for the Turkey team just Abar and Baris and Karin just scored some goals, and the United States scored first in the second half, but then Turkey tied things up, and the United States just tied things up when Turkey just took a 2-1 lead prior to the game, and you can see the momentum switching back and forth, and how they and how it really it really shows you on what it really on what it really showed you of how it all turned out. What all I'm trying to say is that the United
Yeah.
States just thought they were trying to put this one away, except Turkey just kept things more interesting, and they just really thought the United States was going to walk out this one with a draw, except they did not. So the United States scored early, but then all of a sudden it was all Turkey late in the second half, and that was the difference maker. And so now the United States now the United States
Well, Jackson, let me just say
just
this.
has to play. Sorry, Blake. I'm sorry, Blake. Let me finish here. But
Sure.
what I'm trying to say is that the United States now has to what now appears to be a do or die situation that they now have to play this bon bon bonus
Bosnia.
Bosnia the
Bosnia and
Bosnia team
Herzegovina. Yeah.
Bosnia Herzegovina team. Yes, thank you, Mike Blake. That they have to play this Bosnia Herzegovina team. That this team can be very sneaky, and the United States could not be looking past them because Barnisa, they are a pretty good sneaky team, and I wouldn't want to, I wouldn't want to look past them or ahead of them
For sure. Yeah, Bosnia are a good
because
team.
yeah, exactly, and they can just and they can rely on the pressure and make the United States get into trouble and if they and they were some mistakes that the United States can learn from, even though it was a game, even though they were tested against Turkey, they actually were that they have faced probably the toughest game so far yet in this group, and that was really the difference maker for me. But the United States, the bottom line is the United States has to win this game on on July 1st on Wednesday. Otherwise, they will be packing their bags and going home.
Yes, big game against Bosnia in the round 32. I do just want to say though, I think I got to give you a little bit of a not so fast. I think you're being a little bit too pessimistic on this game against Turkey. You're right. It was a disappointing loss in the last minute of the game. Would have liked to win that game, but what you didn't mention is that the U.S. had already clinched their group, that group being Group D, because of their great performances in the first two games against Paraguay and Australia, right? So mathematically speaking, the game against Turkey last night wasn't really going to make a difference. They would have played Bosnia anyway. So to your point, I totally agree with you. It was maybe a performance that wasn't amazing defensively, but you have to also we should also mention that that the U.S. manager Pochettino rested a couple of players.
Rested
Uh,
at least four.
yes,
Had yellow cards.
for that exact reason, yellow cards, fitness concerns, making sure
Mhm.
players were healthy for this round 32 game, and then as well, just because we had already mathematically
Yeah.
clinched, right? So,
He also had seven maiden World Cup starts.
right,
And so the U.S. kind of took the game as a friendly match.
I agree. Yeah. So,
And they tested how how deep their roster would go,
yes,
which totally makes sense.
100%.
Turkey on the other side, they're out, and they knew they were out, and so they had nothing to lose.
It was a house
So
money
they
game.
played hard. So you had two totally different strategies going into the game, where the U.S. was playing as a friendly preseason, hey, let's see how our depth goes, and Turkey was playing for pride.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's important context to have that with these third round games. A
Hmm.
lot of rotation depending on the permutations. But yeah, looking ahead to that game, Jackson, you mentioned on the first against Bosnia in the round of 32. You're correct to point out Bosnia, they finished as third place team in their group behind Switzerland and Canada. But I will say, anytime you're coming up against a European team that's qualifying for the knockout rounds in a World Cup, you're not going to want to overlook that team at all. I think the U.S. is better than Bosnia. The U.S. should beat Bosnia, but they definitely don't want to overlook them as an opponent for sure. Um, but I think this draw is really setting up nicely for the U.S. because if they are able to beat Bosnia, they would play the winner of the matchup between the winner of Group G, which could be Egypt, who are currently leading Group G, and then Egypt play the third place team in their round 32 matchup. So the draw is looking nice for the USA to possibly make it to the quarterfinals. And we should mention, I don't think we've done a show since the first two games, like we mentioned, Paraguay and Australia. We should mention how great those two performances were. The first game in particular against Paraguay, I thought it was a really pleasantly surprised by how intense, how great the U.S. looked going forward in that first half, in particular against Paraguay. The game against Australia as well was dominant. They were all over them, and maybe you could point to Paraguay and Australia. Both of them qualified out of the group as well for the knockouts. Um, but I think that the two performances against Paraguay and Australia made me pretty optimistic about the U.S.'s chances of, I think, at least winning one knockout game, probably winning two knockout games. And I was a little bit skeptical myself coming into the tournament about the USMNT, given some of the results that we saw against some of the friendlies and other big European nations. And obviously, once the U.S. comes up against, your traditional powers, Germany, France, Spain, Argentina, Brazil. They're going to be underdogs. That's going to be a tough game, of course. But Paraguay are no slouches, and I think Australia are a competent World Cup outfit as well. And those two performances gave me a lot of positive feelings about this team. And I think the manager knows his team, Pochettino. I think he's done a great job with the team. And so I don't know, Mike, how you feel, but
Mhm.
I'm pretty bullish about this USA team, more so than I thought I would be.
Yeah, no, I totally see him going into the making the quarterfinals. I think a good matchup in the first round of the 32 is going to be Brazil versus Japan.
Yeah, that's a great matchup. That almost seems like it's like a way too good of a matchup for round of 32 because I think
Hmm.
Japan have been a pretty strong side as well
Yeah.
in this World Cup. I think that they're just a bit unlucky with their group containing
Hmm.
Netherlands and Sweden, so kind of two tough matchups there. But um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, there's some other decent. I
Yeah.
think Ivory Coast Norway is a confirmed
Hmm.
matchup. Mexico and Canada both punch their tickets to the knockouts,
Yeah.
right? So we should have some fun matchups.
Yeah. Netherlands v Morocco.
Yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
matchup.
Three of the Moroccan players were born in the Netherlands.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good stat. They have a big diaspora in Northern Africa. The
Yeah.
French, Dutch ancestry there is a big thing for sure.
Yeah. So that'll be there's going to be a lot of good games on the round of 32.
For sure, for sure. I think also as well, Germany and France both won their
Hmm.
groups, and if
Yeah,
they
France
both
is leading right now. They're playing Norway. They're
they
leading
just yeah
3 to
they
1.
just
They
they
just
just
won.
clinched that one 4-1.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but if France and Germany both win their round of 32 matchups, they would face each other in the round of 16, which seems pretty crazy actually.
Hmm.
And then Canada would play the winner if they beat South Africa in their matchup. They play the winner of Netherlands,
Yeah.
Morocco. Ivory Coast, Norway would play the winner of Brazil, Japan. So you could
Hmm.
possibly have a Brazil, Norway
Yeah.
round of 16 matchup.
Yeah.
That's pretty tasty.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think there's some really exciting games to look forward to.
Yeah.
Still some more permutations, some more brackets to
Yeah.
be confirmed. But yeah, so far, Mike, I mean, I've definitely enjoyed the World Cup a lot.
Yeah.
Have you?
I watched Spain and Argentina and France
Yeah,
and any of those three teams. Oh my goodness.
those are
I,
your
I,
ones to keep
phew,
an eye out for.
wow. I mean, talk about I don't see how anybody can stop them. I
And
mean,
yeah, and my question to you, Mike, is
uh,
did you watch the game in Spanish?
On
no,
Telemundo.
no, I didn't. I watched it in English so I could understand. Yeah. But
But all I know is that the only word that I can understand what the commentators say on like Spanish television is the three letter word
oh,
go.
yes, indeed.
That's all you get. That's all I have to know. Jackson, have any teams stood out to you so far in this World Cup group games that you have your eye on? Obviously, we've had some big performances from big players, the likes of Messi, Mbappe, even Ronaldo got a couple goals. The poor guy. So, any teams, players, kind of caught your eye so far as we look forward to this knockout stage happening starting soon?
Well, other than the United States men's national team, because I can just say that they were banged up in injuries with the star leader player Christian Porzingis
Pulisic,
Pulisic of
he's
the United States. So he
not
he has
not
been the
Chris
bit.
Stubbs.
Well, yeah, right. Sorry, wrong athlete, but you get the idea. But
Hmm.
but so far, the report that I've been getting from Pulisic is that he was fully available, but didn't like play in the second half, like I mentioned. But back to your point, other than who stood out so far in this tournament so far is is that is so far is that I was very yeah, yes, I was very struck by Messi becoming the all-time leading goal scorer of the sport, and I was very impressed so far by how he's still doing it, even as a Hall of Famer, probably in many years, but of doing it this late of his career, of his age, which which I'm not surprised. But I'm just but I didn't think he would really still do this at a very high level, and and yet he is, and so far I was and so far to me about and also the player that we did not mention is the Eric Holland player, the Manchester United
City.
the Manchester, yes, correct, sorry, Holland, the uh the multiple time Premier League champion for Manchester City, who was on Team Norway, but his team is now but his team did lose to Mbappe in France, but so far I have
But
to
he didn't
say
actually
this
play. The interesting thing
well
about that
right
game that just happened as a recording here on Friday afternoon is that Norway rested all of their players, which is
right
interesting.
So
I guess.
they're playing Germany, I think, in round 32.
Who, Norway?
Yeah,
No, they're playing Ivory Coast
they're
in the round
playing
of
Ivory
32.
Coast. Okay.
And then that matchup plays the winner of Brazil Japan.
Okay.
So I guess you could maybe they were trying to avoid a round of 16 game against Germany, but if they win their matchup, then they had to play the winner of Brazil Japan is probably
So
Japan. So I'm not
so
really
they're
sure why. I guess they just favored the rest over trying to
yeah,
win the group, I
they're,
guess. But
they're gaming the system.
I suppose we'll see if it works out for them. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
I think you're right to mention them, Jackson. I think Norway are a big dark horse for sure. I think if Brazil match up against Norway in the round of 16, that's a really difficult game for Brazil. I think Brazil would be favorites, but Norway so far in their first two games looked pretty
Yeah.
threatening. And when you have the quality of an Erling Haaland up top, they're going to be a scary team and one that can make some noise.
And you gotta love the Norwegian row in the stands.
Of course, the fans are all about it with the row. Ooh, ooh.
That is great.
So, listen, the fans are going to be all over it. I'm sure B.O. Limberger loves a bit of Norwegian row.
I think the Viking fans will steal it.
Roo,
I love
roo.
it, man. Listen, the Tartan Army
Oh yeah, the
and the
Scots.
Norway, I think they're going at it, And then
Yeah.
Boston broke up. Boston feels hurt because the Tartan Army broke up with them, and now they're having fun in Miami. All the memes are fantastic.
Yeah.
I know.
hey
I think
yeah
Norway would. Excuse me. I think Scotland are going to be unfortunately just miss out on the knockouts as a top ranked third place. But would have been great to have at least one more game with the Tartan Army as BL says. But yeah, no, definitely Norway. Keep an eye on Norway to make some noise for sure.
right on, Blake. And we mentioned about Egypt and Ivory Coast. Well, if you haven't watched the match between Egypt and New Zealand, it was a it was it that well, if you haven't catch the house of that game already, well, that actually earned them the first win ever in the FIBA World Cup. And this club and this team's got to be very proud that they won this game in Vancouver, which they should be very proud that they finally earned their dream and 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 are now playing against Iraq, and that should be very proud from what they are. But Ivory Coast, wow, I don't know what to say about them, but they have became the first African nation to ever move on to the next round of FIBA World Cup. So for the first time ever, I mean, two teams that are still alive in this thing that for the country and for their culture that this African team for those players, especially for those who are beloved for the entire country and the nation of Africa, man, you got to be feeling very blessed and very proud for the hard work that they have accomplished so far, and and for those who are not keeping their dreams alive but are going home early and not moving on. Yeah, sadly, like he said, Scotland is one of those countries, but you definitely got to feel very proud because all those pints and those beers up there in New England are just going to be are just going to be there. Those bars are not going to be a bunch of singing fans and running out and not going to be the same as it once was before that. It's just going to be a complete going to be a lot more quieter than it was before. But yeah, I feel very sorry for the Scottish fans and for their players that that their players are just not good are not really a powerhouse like they are in golf. But I'm sorry, but they're not. And also the
Wait,
men.
Jackson. I didn't think they were out yet. I thought they
So
were still. They got
technically, they
another
haven't
game, right?
been.
Well, they are,
Technically,
Blake.
they no, they're not. Technically,
Yeah.
they haven't been confirmed to be eliminated, but they
Goal
have to be.
differential,
They have to
maybe.
be in the top 8 of the 12 third place teams. Their goal difference is -3. They're on 3
Yeah.
points, so it looks unlikely, but not confirmed yet.
Yeah. Did
So
you
you're
read
saying
the
it's a
Yeah,
chance?
Did you read
and
the articles about the Tartan Army putting traffic cones on the statues
I
up
saw
in
that. Yeah,
Boston?
yeah.
yeah, I saw that. I saw that actually on like late night TV, and that just made me and that just actually made me stop laughing. It's like a complete joke. So it's very similar to this, and I think Blake Lumberger would want to hear this. Um, s- so so it's so if you think about a fake statue, which I feel like would make me would make me would make me laugh, but that got me thinking about
What's up, Jack? What are you trying to do?
oh, sorry, nothing, as I was saying, that for what
We're talking about the Scottish fans, right? What do you want to say?
oh yeah, yeah, listen, I was just gonna I
I
was just
I
going
personally have
well,
loved
well
all the content of the Scottish fans up in Boston. Absolutely loving life.
oh no,
They had their
sorry,
first 2 games up in
yeah, sorry,
Scotland, and the fans were absolutely loving it. And I think as well, Mike, to bring the baseball into it, we saw a lot of these fans,
Hmm.
the Norway fans as well, but the Scottish fans at the Red Sox game. And other MLB stadiums we saw invaded by some World Cup fans, so that was good to see, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
oh yeah, sorry, about the I was sorry, I was actually referring
yeah.
to
Go ahead.
those, yeah, so I think I know what I can relate. As I was saying, can relate to what the fake statues all around the FIBA World Cup for those teams, countries that you were referring to. Well, that got me thinking. I think Blake Lumberger can relate to this. Down in Miami, the Dwayne Wade fake statue. It had this kind of similar feel. So I think that got my head in thinking it's very similar feel to that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, World Cup fans will put a cone on any statue for sure. So they love a bit of hijinks out on the town, don't these traveling fans? So we'll see what the Norwegians are playing their round of 32 game in Jerry's World out in Dallas. So
Yeah.
keep an eye for the Norwegian row. They might make their way to the Rangers game or in downtown or in Arlington rather. So keep an eye out for them for sure. Any other World
Yes.
Cup thoughts before we hop to our next topic, Jack?
Yeah, so I want to say this. I want to say this before we move on. That I want to say this right now. Even though the United States, whether you win or lose, you still got to believe no matter what happens for the United States national team. Even though I have to say that the women's team are better than the men's team.
We'll focus on
I'm
the
going
men's
to
team
tell you
though. I
right
mean,
now,
this is men's World
I
Yeah.
Cup,
know, but
so
I'm here to
it's
tell you right now that I'm going to shout some girl power out there for those who are listening.
okay.
But I think the women are. I'm sorry, but I think the women are better than the men. That's just really how I see it. Even though the men's national team should be very proud that I know they lost, but no matter the result, no matter how far they go, I think you're a fan of Team USA and believing in the red, white, and blue and 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 all that stuff. I just don't think they're better than France or Spain or Argentina, England or Portugal or um or any of those teams. But the Blue and White Army and those guys, yeah, they had a great run, but I just don't think they're as quite as good as the women are. I'm sorry, but they're not.
We think they'll beat Bosnia though, right?
I do, but it's going to be but there's going to be like a lot of pressure
So
and I think they'll be draw or
so
win, but they cannot.
well, somebody has
But
to win.
all I'm
Yeah.
saying is they cannot afford to lose. That's all I'm trying to say.
It's a must-win game. That we can all agree on that for
Yeah.
sure. I think I'm with
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
I think I see a tight victory against Bosnia. It's not going to be a 3-0 or 4-1. I think it's going to be tight victory against Bosnia. That's kind of how I see it, Mike. What do you think?
Yeah, 2-1 US.
Okay. Yeah. Fair. All right, Jack. Should we jump to
Yes.
our next topic?
Let's jump in, which is the championships of the New York Knicks and the Carolina Hurricanes.
Wow.
Now, hard to believe that the Carolina Hurricanes last championship came in a 20-year span versus the Knicks, well, they're even longer in a 53-year span. So a lot in common for our for both for both for both basketball and hockey in the pro level individually if you really think about that. Now, as far as the championship parades go, well, in New York they do a thing called a ticker parade versus like in Raleigh they do things differently like they go around the city like I know like for winning a Stanley Cup for whenever I see a championship like win a Stanley Cup or a championship, anytime I mean, for those of you who are listening, I know that anytime you see a sports team in in the pro level or ever win a championship, sometimes what fans do is they get a little bit too excited and throw fireworks up the air, jump on lamp poles and on trees and all that stuff, and but then when the celebrations come around, that that in New York they actually had their championship rally at City Hall, and the Carolina Hurricanes play. They had theirs like at the Raleigh, North Carolina Capitol State House. So I have to say that with the players, I know that one of the highlights that I like to point out is Mitch Robinson bringing out his truck in the parade, who loves country music, and Karl Anthony Towns, who's a Christian man, which I don't see, which is something I don't see every day in the NBA, and then what about Seth Jarvis winning a gold medal with Team USA in the Stanley Cup? Oh, that doesn't get any better than that. And that was really my biggest highlight so far in the Stanley Cup final. And Rob Brind'Amour winning as a player and a coach. Oh, that doesn't get any special than that. And I would have to say, but then Mike Brown, if you think he's played in the NBA for a long time and he's had appeared in NBA finals before, also against Spurs, but he ended up getting swept on the losing end. But now all these years later, but then 19 years later, he has got revenge and redemption, and he finally tastes it. And then what about the Villanova Big Three of Jalen Brunson, and Josh Hart and Josh Hart and all those guys and um and so yeah the Villanova Big Three also winning in Texas and Houston and San Antonio. That was probably the biggest highlight so far. But yeah, the Knicks in five chance. I thought it was very special. And then Malik Bridges and Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson, the Villanova Big Three, became the first NBA duo to ever win it in the college level and pro level. They have learned a lot during their time with their head coach, Jay Wright, and then of course the celebrities, of course, about who about the celebrities, of course, and who loves to listen to some Fat Joe. He was part of the Knicks championship parade in Raleigh and at courtside along with Tracy Morgan, Sting, and Ben Stiller, and of course Taylor Swift and wearing his Stevie Nicks t-shirts was also an appearance, something that the Carolina
Timothy
Hurricanes
Chalamet.
I know something that the Carolina Hurricanes never do, which is celebrities
Nah, we don't need celebrities. We need hardworking
and and
people
and they
and
don't do
hardworking
and they
hockey
don't do
players.
this right and they
None of
don't
that
do
flash.
right and they don't do this at Blake Lemberg Charlotte Hornets team either. So that's because they're not like a LA and New
No,
York because they're
I think BL is a celebrity at the Hornets game. He gets shown on
well,
the
he's the only
jumbotron.
one there along with Christian Porzingis. I'm sorry, Christian
Well,
Pulisic
LaMelo
from
Ball isn't there
Charlotte
anymore,
FC.
so
But
yeah.
well, yeah, Lamelo Ball has now been traded away to
So
Charlotte, and he's going to be now playing for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
So back to the championship parades, the championship celebrations. Mike, anything catch your eye in either the Knicks or the Hurricanes parade? We can talk about our own experience in a
Yeah,
second because we went to the Hurricanes parade. We should mention,
yeah.
but Mike, anything catch your eye on those celebrations?
I was surprised at how many people were at the Hurricanes parade. I didn't think there was that many people in Raleigh.
I know it was crazy. It definitely set some records for most amount of people in downtown Raleigh at one point.
Yeah.
I guess we should talk about it a little bit, Jackson, because me and you went to it, and it was a pretty insane experience. We went to the down to the street. I got the bird's eye view up on the parking garage. If you saw some of the videos, they the bus drove by the parking
Hmm.
garage. Jackson was there on the street getting some good content. But you know, it was great, honestly. It was just a like a celebratory. Everyone's in a good mood. Everyone's wearing red and black. And I think you could really tell how much it meant to the people here, to people in North Carolina, to see this team get over the line after a while, and everybody showed out. Everybody was there celebrating. And yeah, honestly, it was a great time, and I had a great time, and the players had a great time. Rod Brind'Amour, Rod the Bod, all the players. Um,
And bus
they all
seats right under
deserved
the
it.
bus.
Of course, Bussy. So no, it was a great time. It was great to kind of put a cap on a great season. I had a feeling they were going to be contenders this year. I was proven right, and to celebrate at the
I
end
know.
with the cup was great. Jackson, did you have a good time at the parade, man?
Oh, I had a great time with you, Blake. Although we didn't stay for the entirety of the very end of it towards the championship rally, I actually ended up watching it on TV in your apartment, and because I didn't want to hear, although we love our Carolina Hurricanes, and though we really enjoyed our speeches like we do on every championship parade, but yet there are times where they would be saying some like F-bombs and all that stuff that we can't even say
It
here on
happens in
Good Day
hockey,
Sports
yeah. It
or on
happens
live
in hockey.
TV or
Now
or in basketball too. Yeah. Yes,
we had a
right.
good view of the buses coming by. Some good double decker
Hmm.
buses, all in red, decked out in cane stuff. So it was pretty cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Blake, and the reason why I brought that up and say that is because they get too excited and they want to address all the fans talking, making those speeches and saying and give and pumping up and getting the
Yeah.
crowd amped up to the volume and max. That's just really what this
They had a
what
good
championship parade
they were
rally is like.
they were enjoying themselves, and why wouldn't you? Stanley Cup champions
And
for the after 20 years from the last one. So it was a great moment to celebrate, wasn't it?
yes, and yes, it was. Yes, it was. And then of course we have to mention that yeah, the Vegas Golden Knights were up 2-1 that series, but then they just but it appeared that they just couldn't finish the job after that. So it looked like to me that all the wheels were falling off. They were just running out of efficiency, and they just didn't have anything left in the gas tank. That was really what uh how it was all said and done. Once that series wrapped up in 6 games in Vegas, and the Carolina Hurricanes, believe it or not, took over much like what the Knicks did in Game 5 when the Knicks in 5 chant showed up among Spike Lee and among every player shout out there. But the Knicks just like took the Knicks just took over the MSG crowd at Prospect Center in San Antonio, and the Carolina Hurricanes actually did the same thing when they took over T-Mobile Arena in Vegas. So you had like two road teams that won it on the road and quit in a quitching scenario for both hockey and basketball,
Yeah.
and and so Jackson Blake and Jordan Chavez and really just Vegas just had so many opportunities. They were so close at one point when they had like a 2-1 lead, and then things just didn't really go their way, and that's how all said and done. And and then and then and then and then and then and and then and then then John Tortorella, first of all, he did everything he could, but then except there's only one thing that's missing that he wishes
Winning.
that he wished. Well, yeah, exactly. But no, no, yes, that's true. But I think the only thing you're missing is that he thought there was going to be a game 7 back in Raleigh, except there's not, and his
To
clothes are
to
still back
quote
in
to
the
quote
hotel room.
Torts, he said, "I'm leaving my clothes here
Yeah.
in
But
Raleigh," is what he said. And
but
my
then
sources, Jackson, are telling me that those clothes have
are going to
not been.
be burned. They are going to burn them. They are going to light it on fire and
Well, I don't
burn
know
them on the
about that,
ground.
but I don't know about that, but they certainly have been claimed by Tortorella. He did not make it back to Raleigh for Game 7, unsurprisingly.
Yeah.
So I mean, Torts talks a big game, Mike, but
Yeah.
ultimately the Canes had the last laugh there, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, two incredible statistics of the whole NBA and NHL playoffs. The Hurricanes went 16-3 in the postseason, and the Knicks went 16-2 in the postseason.
Wow, two dominant
That's
teams, you have to say, right?
that's incredible.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Mike, because both these teams were combined 53 wins, and well, the Carolina Hurricanes have won 15 points, and you do make a great um um and I do agree with you of that they make a great point there, Mike, because both these teams I thought were by far the best team so far of the season, like you said, and I think that a lot had to do with the players that were to be out of it. They were just going to that they were just going to give up, but then they just but they just had this one play at a time mentality and just never giving things up and making one play at a time and just just a resilience group from the way that I look at it for both these teams and never giving up and just play things the hard way and just every play matters and just really stay in the moment. I think that's what both the Carolina Hurricanes and the
Yeah.
New York Knicks Knicks did um so far this season is part of the reason why they've won those championships. So I think to me is resiliency and just a great group of guys that know how to that know how to how to compete and and um and win these games. And so I and so and so and and so it but there were some but there was a little bit of steps on the road, a little edge on the road, a little bit of a mountain seat, to climb for them to get in this far. And although although the Knicks just it would appear to me that they found a way to make it adjustment in the offseason after losing in heartbreak fashion to Harry Person and Patriots last season. So I feel like um going knowing the owner and just got things right in a clean house is probably what they did. It's probably why they made this far and won it. And but there were some but there were some but there were some steps that they had to climb before making this far. And then it all started with a very good competitive series against the Atlanta Hawks in an Atlanta series. It was very competitive. That they were almost going to be dead in the water at first, and that were about to be out of it, except they just kept except they just blocked up the outside noise and just kept on making plays, and that was really the difference in that series. And then they swept against Philadelphia, swept against Cleveland, and then won the championship in a 4-1 series over Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs. Now I can tell you this: that Victor Wembanyama and Spurs will, much like the Carolina Hurricanes series against Vegas against Spurs and Knicks, it was a very close. The Spurs, their games at home, they were going to put this one away, except Knicks just kept finding ways to win. That was really the difference in that series versus Vegas. Well, they kept plays alive and just Jack Eichel and and Stone, those
Yeah,
guys
they were
did
all
all
competitive
they could.
games, even on
Very competitive.
even in the New
But
York
in the end,
the New York San Antonio series, like all
right, but
those games were close as well. Carolina Vegas, those games were close as well. Like they weren't
yeah,
7 game series, but they were all tight competitive games, right?
yeah. So Carolina, as far as I know, they swept Ottawa
Yeah, they
and
swept the first 2,
swept the
and
first
then
two.
dropped 2 against Vegas,
Yep, dropped two against Vegas, and
or they dropped 1 against in the ECF.
yeah. So
Who was that against? So, no, I'm blanking on the on the playoff path, but yeah, they were dominant. That's for sure.
yeah. So they lost. Yeah. So I'm looking at this. I'm looking at their path to playoffs from this past season. So they swept Ottawa. They swept Philadelphia. They lost one and
This is
won three
Montreal, yeah.
against Montreal,
Montreal.
and then, like you mentioned, two losses against Vegas, but then four wins against Vegas, and one of those goaltenders against Freddie Anderson, who was pulled after game two. That was where they made the transition to
Hey, Jack.
Bussy, and that was where things made a complete turnaround to the team. So to me, I think the goaltending change to Bussy really was the difference maker and the complete and the complete turnaround and difference maker of the series for what Rob Brind'Amour
Yeah.
did when he was whispering in his post game press conference was really
For sure, yeah.
yeah.
Let's let Blake.
Sorry. I'm trying to finish
Yeah,
up here, Blake.
wrap it up.
But I was trying to say that it was the it was Rob Brind'Amour's tough decision to make. But in the end, he just knew that Bussy was really the difference maker of how they've turned the series around against Vegas in the Stanley Cup final was really why they won the cup, and that was part of the reason why Vegas just lost the series because of Bussy and how athletic he was with his moves.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's good.
Game
Good
six,
move for sure.
and that was really why the difference maker to me of how Carolina won the cup was really in the goaltending of how Rob Brind'Amour just really stuck with his team, and that was really how they came from behind and won the cup.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
You gotta tip your cap to the Canes general manager. Bussy was a last minute waiver wire find right before the season.
Right, Mike, and let's forget
It was a great pickup.
he played in the minor leagues by one of the minor league AHL clubs, but then he played with Florida for one of their minor league teams for a little bit before making the transition over to Columbus and Carolina before that, and before his path here made the Stanley Cup final. That was really how I view and see how Brandon Bussy's comeback story from his career in this game of hockey has embraced so far, and he also comes with a special needs. You guys will like this that he you all will love this that he actually came with a special needs and people that in the family that came with autism. So there's really a lot to like with Brendan Bussy's piece and story that I watched on those hockey shows on ESPN and elsewhere. It's really worth a watch and really remarkable for how he made
Hey,
it.
Jack. Hey, Jack.
Yeah, Blake.
Back in
Go
the
ahead, Blake.
day, hey, you're spot on, Jack. And just like Steve Spurrier with the Gamecocks, you say we're not rebuilding, we're reloading, baby. They're gonna get the best goalie. They're gonna get even better. You can get the best goalie going back to back Stanley Cups. And I got to jump off here real quick, but I just wanted to put that in. Last word: Hurricanes are going back to back. Gonna get the best goalie in hockey. They're just getting started. You guys going to another ticker
Absolutely.
tape parade next year.
I love it. I love it. I
You
agree.
got it,
I
Blake.
agree.
You heard it here
I
first
agree.
from my co-host Blake Wamberger as he signs off and
Yep. No, I think
and
we're gonna
Carolina's
Jackson.
going to be
Jackson?
yes.
Why don't you get us wrapped up here as well? We gotta head out. So let's get this thing wrapped up
Blake
today.
Wamberger's wrapped himself up for today. So will we. So but yeah, it was just a great day to be a Carolina Hurricanes that day, especially with the parade with all our sports teams winning, the Seahawks, the Knicks, and now our Carolina Hurricanes, our beloved teams, the Seattle Seahawks and the Carolina Hurricanes. They are by far. I feel like our. So all I can say is that I feel like our family just seems to have some belief and just really really just didn't think it would be real until it was for a dream, but then it was, and so that was just really what stood out that there is some that to me I feel like the great family in this household for all our sports teams that we cheer for is really became our good luck charm. So I feel like it's just been very lucky so far from the kind of year in sports we had so far this year. So that's all I gotta
Absolutely.
say. But as we wrap up, I hope that all of you have a great weekend and hope for another Team USA victory because they are going to need it. We are going to need it. We're going to have to show up and Pulisic and those young players who are injured, they got to show up and they got to stay
Yep.
healthy at all times, or else they're going home. Their World Cup dreams are over. And let's hope for the best and hope for a great game against Pulisic on Saturday in San Francisco, where the game's being played. Um, where the game is being played at Levi Stadium out there in Santa Clara, out there in California. I hope that everybody tunes in and watches and we hope that the next time we do a show we recap a FIFA World Cup win. We will see, only time will tell. But in the meantime, I hope everybody has a great weekend. Here, Good Rock Sports. I'm Jackie Gray signing up. Me and Brother Blake will be going to see the Toy Story movie right after we get off air. And Uncle Mike, great seeing you. Have a great weekend. Blake Brind'Amour has already left, so left us early. But Mike Roby, it was really great talking to you. Enjoy watching the FIFA World Cup. Have a great weekend, and we will talk to you soon next week.
All right.
Thank
See
you,
you
Jack.
guys.
Enjoy. See you. Bye.